Ricky Flores here with the Sheen Procs from the Trinity Force Network. I'm here with Mark, the analyst for Team Liquid. How you doing today, Mark?
Good, how are you?
Not bad at all, thank you for asking. So how did you become the analyst for Team Liquid?
So it was season 4, or the start of it, and Team Curse was currently relegated, and they posted that they were holding open tryouts for all player positions, and I sent an email to Steve, Liquid 112, asking if there were tryouts for analyst positions as well, because I had known that he was one of the first proponents of it, and he said there were, and I did some volunteer work for them as they got into through the promotion tournament, basically made sure they got their spot back, and once they got their spot back, they brought me on full time, and I've been with them for a year and a half now.
Nice. Is that how you got into the whole esports thing? You kind of just were a player, and then you kind of volunteered and got into it, or was there more to that story?
No, that's honestly mostly it. I didn't really follow any esport before League, and I was playing League kind of just for fun. I had a buddy who showed me Reddit. I found the subreddit. I started taking it more seriously as I learned more about it. And I went to school for game design, so figuring out how games work is obviously something I'm interested in. And once I graduated college, I wrote up some basically scouting reports on teams just to have a portfolio a little bit, and then I just started talking to some teams and just sending out blind emails basically.
Just sending it out there, whoever picks up on the bait.
Yep.
So recently it's been a requirement for teams to have coaches. How has that affected Team Liquid specifically and the pick and ban phases and such like that? How's that affected you guys?
I think for us it was not a huge change because I was basically the coach last year. I was even called the coach for a split randomly. And so we were used to having, I think our team in particular was really used to having someone in their ear about being professional and taking scrims seriously. I know when I first started, I had to convince them for some reason I had to convince them not to troll scrims and joke around too much. I had to be take this seriously. This is your practice time. So our team was used to it. I'm not sure every team was. So that was pretty easy for our team. Having the coach on stage for the picks bans is something that I think I wouldn't say we struggled with, but it was something that we had to figure out how our team would work. So some of the players can be pretty stubborn in their picks about what they want, and having a coach have final say and maybe not getting the pick you want and going into the game even keeled and not already a little upset is something that I think I wouldn't say we struggle with, but it's something you have to get used to.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good vibe going on in there. You mentioned scrims, and I've always wondered, because at face value you kind of think all right, so if let's say we're bringing out this crazy Juggernaut comp, not crazy, but we're bringing out the Juggernaut comp, and that's what we're going to rely on, and then all of a sudden the other team is well, these guys are just going to run Juggernaut the whole time. How do you balance, I guess my question is, how do you balance bringing out the comps you want without showing too much in scrims? And what's the vibe there? You were kind of talking about it.
Yeah, so in scrims, you never scrim the team you're going to play that week. So everyone has this kind of don't tell anyone what we're playing thing, obviously. And sometimes people accidentally slip up or they'll mention something. It's a little annoying, but it's not anything that's crazy. Usually the team you're playing doesn't feel like they know exactly what you're going to play. And so in terms of comps and anything that you're worried about showing too much, usually in scrims you don't worry about it. But in terms of practicing what you want to play, it can be hard because there's a degree of experimenting you need to do with new picks. And they played this weekend. Is this something we want to try? And then but it doesn't really fit our style, does it? Or there's always an experimentation that goes on in scrims that can make them feel a little loose, I'll say.
Sure. So Team Liquid played yesterday. They broke the curse. Finally got third place. How do you guys feel about that? Is there some excitement there? What's the talk of the town?
I mean, we always joke about the curse. We kind of own it in a sense, but we don't think about it seriously. Oh man, we got to break this curse. We can't get fourth. It's more hey, we want to win. We always want to win. The curse thing is just some goofy storyline that somehow has followed us.
Something just to icing on the cake in a way.
Yeah.
And so today was TSM's victory, and what'd you think? How did TSM look? Were there any flaws that stood out, or what was really good for them? Any plays that made you say wow or why today?
I think Meteos played pretty well in the game that they won. I think TSM's team fighting was pretty good. A couple times they lost fights that they might they were ahead of before the start of the fight, so they shouldn't have lost them maybe. But they played really well. I think the big thing too is just TSM is a more solid team with their champs. I think C9 they can be really like predictable almost, and they have like a certain style that they're going to play. And TSM has what seem like deeper champ pools at most positions.
Awesome. So just kind of a random last question. The double Smite is kind of a thing going around. What's your personal take on it? How do you feel about it?
I think it's all right if you play it really well. I don't think it's inherently stronger than a lot of the other things. Like, I'd much rather have an Ignite Hecarim. I'd much rather have a Rumble. I might even prefer a Scion to the Shyvana. I think like the only thing that it really looks good on is Shyvana. And even then, you need probably like certain matchups to do it. So I think it's just like an interesting strategy, not something that's going to like take over, because this is the strongest it's going to get. Obviously, nerfs are coming. So the fact that it's not like every game everyone's running Smite top, I think that's a good niche for it to be in. But it's probably gonna drop off.
All downhill from here.
Yeah, they don't. Riot doesn't want Smite in top. I can tell you, they're going to do whatever they can to get that out of there.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Mark.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good being on.